Writing from the soul is the mother of all invention, and 21 Grams is back for another season of this exploration. We will look into the artist and the art they create. Except, this season we're adding the questionnaire, invented by the great Bernard Pivot, to go even deeper. They say 21 grams is the weight of the soul, and this show is the scale. So now here's your host for 21 grams, Joe Compton.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we're live. We are here with the awesome David Ash, who has created some of my favorite indie stuff in the last 5 years. So I'm real excited to talk to him about all of that. I always like to start off, Dave, by giving everybody a chance to introduce themselves a little bit and give everybody a chance to get to know you. So tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me back. I make films. I've made films for about 20 years. I've made 7 short films, 3 feature films, and then this most recent project is Incompleteness. It's a first season's 8 episodes, about 45 minutes each. And that's what I've been up to.
It's very fascinating, the process in which you went through to create this series and then continue it. You would put out, I believe it was 4 episodes. Was it 3 or 4 episodes? 3 episodes the first time around, and then you went out, shopped that around with doing the film festival circuit and putting stuff out there, and you won multiple awards, as it should, because it's freaking awesome. But and then COVID hit, and then here we are. And it's kind of funny because there's a little bit of incorporating all of that into there in a certain aspect, and it's interesting to me, the process in which you went through. Talk a little bit about that aspect of it, and what made you decide, let's go ahead and finish this series.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, so after my third and last feature film I made, I just didn't want to do feature films for a while. I felt like there really wasn't a market in feature films anyway for the kind of stuff that I do. That was kind of moving to TV. And I always wanted to write and create stories that were beyond 90 minutes that really had this longer arc to them. We got much, where you get much deeper into the characters, what's going on. You get a lot more just involved in every aspect of the story. So I just kind of wrote for 2 years. I just wrote and wrote until I was done, basically, with this whole story. It was about 350 pages I wrote. And then, I planned to just kind of shop around. I didn't really see myself making it. Got lucky and won the Minnesota State's Art Board Artist Initiative grant here. It's back 2019. And the only way they give you the money is to actually make it yourself. So at that point, I was kind of had to do it. So at that point, I was like, okay, I guess I am making this thing. So we originally did about 100 pages or so, which turned out to be about 2 hours. Ended up being 3 episodes. Then COVID hit, and I just worked on post-production, and we put in a bunch of festivals, and it did shockingly well. We won over 50 festivals, believe it or not. And then that just was kind of a great proof of concept at that point, where it's like, hey, this seems to be, getting embraced much more than I thought. It's a pretty esoteric kind of material. I thought it'd be kind of just for nerds like us, but it actually had a broader appeal than the dorks like us. So that was a good impetus to just go back in and do more. So I already had the script. So COVID started to loosen up in terms of what we could do, and we just started making more. Didn't really have a plan when to stop. And I kind of figured out, 5 more episodes is kind of where we wanted to land. Put in the first 3. Now we have 8 episodes of the first full season.
And so what is the plan at this point for you? Are you going to shop the entire thing as a season, or are you looking at already developing season 2? Where are you at in this process? Because, here you don't have a proof of concept anymore. You have a series at this point.
Yeah, that was the idea. It was kind of like, part of it was to of that whole story I just told was after we did 3, I got lucky in a couple really very well-connected folks in the TV industry, kind of production team, got in touch with me and decided we were going to try to shop this thing out and kind of sell it as, here's 3. If you want it, maybe we can make more, etc. And so before we started production on this, second part of the season, they went out and started shopping around and really got very good response overall. But it's kind of like, it's neither fish nor fowl, as one of these guys said. It's not a pilot, it's not a full season, it's 3 episodes. What the more we do with that? And at that point, it was kind of like, well, we got to make more then if this is not going to do it. So it was at that point, it was like, well, let's just give them what they want, which is a full season. So that was another big impetus for it. Was just like, let's actually get something out there that can be sold as is, not a proof of concept or add movie stars to make more. Just take it as it is.
The interesting thing is the time gap in which you've created the first 3 to creating the next 5. And as we know in this business, everything goes really fast and then slows really slowly, goes really slow. But there is that time gap. And, you're a better writer at this point than you were when you made the first 3. I mean, I know that you had written at least an outline of the rest of the series beforehand, or maybe even all the 5 scripts. I don't remember the last time we talked if that was the case, but in terms of editing it down and then putting it together and getting the same crew and cast back together, talk a little bit about the challenges of the time gap for you, because that's got to be an interesting aspect to this.
Yeah, again, I didn't really know I wanted to make more until it was a year or so after we were done completely the first 3. Got it, did well all these festivals, and then the actress who plays Chelsea and the actor who plays Michael, who are married, they told me they were moving to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, well, shit, I guess we better hurry up and shoot some stuff. So. True story. I took about half of their old material, their full remaining material for the last 5 episodes, and we did 2 long days here right before they took off. And I'm like, well, I guess at that point I still hadn't decided if we were going to shoot more. I'm like, well, if we do, at least we'll have this, right?
Yeah.
So I remember,
That's awesome.
I remember Clarence, one of the actors on the set, he's like, well, should I cut my hair? Are we gonna do more? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I said, we've got these 2 days that we had to have if we're going to do anything at all. So it was kind of, even there, it was kind of a punt. It was kind of like, well, but I knew that they had those 2 actress and actor, Christine Weber and Juan Rivera. They have family here, so they'd be back now and then. So they came back over Christmas. We shot in a couple more days, and they were back then. Next summer, we were still kind of working on this thing, and we shot some more days. So we were able to get that all in there, but it really wasn't until I was kind of forced into like, either you guys do this or not, shoot it off the pot by them leaving. I'm like, okay, we better jump in. And it started to click again together with the same group of folks and started to be fun again. So I was like, let's just keep doing this. And then until we get to the 8 episodes. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
That's awesome. I love that. Indie productions, right? I mean, you work around everybody's schedule, you figure out the weekend, everybody's free, you do it, and you get it done.
Yeah, exactly right.
14-hour days, whatever it takes. Right?
Yeah, we're crazy. I don't know why. Yeah, but, interesting way to spend your time, right?
Yeah, right. And then I would imagine editing it was a lot of fun and putting all that together, trying to get the continuity back to it and everything like that.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad because it wasn't a huge gap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. We shot with a slightly different style and different camera person, second camera person, second time around. So I had different kinds of looks and. I did all the editing myself, so that helped the continuity because I did the first part as well, and kind of destroyed my head. And it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun to just kind of put that all together, or try to put it together over, 4 or 5 months. I did all the editing. So, yeah, it was just kept doing it until there's no more to do, right?
Yeah, right. And then probably a little bit more after that.
Yeah, there was a lot of work with Trell, our composer, and Tom, our sound designer, and there was more months of that. So we didn't get done until end of June this year, actually.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm curious from your perspective, because I mean, there's the log line, there's an opportunity to talk about the film, talk about the series and everything like that. But how would you describe this for people who have never seen this before? What would you tell them? What experience are they in for when they get into Incompleteness?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you have the log line, you said, and you try to market it a certain way, and
Yeah.
got some help from our executive producers in doing that, and it's a good way to market it. It's not necessarily how I would describe it, if I encapsulate it, but it's a good way to it's got some hooks in it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's kind of it's all around the core of it is this idea of illusion of free will and who's in control, trying to show people in their lives who are trying to have some sense of the grander things that we think about, spirituality and all those other things, but still be confronted with these other more abstract ideas that, there's no such thing as free will, and the self and all this other stuff, kind of psychological deep dive that you might see on a TED Talk. I want to put all that into like a series, so it's more of a palatable way of getting these ideas than reading a white paper about these kind of things. So that's a very arcane way of describing it, but that at the essence of it, if you watch it long enough, you understand that that's what we're going for, is to try to get to that idea of how do you find sustenance and the things you're looking for in life, despite what you know about what's really going on in our lives. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I think that connects me to how you do and how you produce a film and television now, and the series, and this series in particular, is, and I'm curious for your thoughts on this. There's an abstract subtext in a lot of what you do, but there is also, at the core of it, it's all about human connection, and having a person on the other end connecting with that person, and even if their thought process is much different than the person that they're looking across from, which is often the case. We find ourselves doing that all the time. We're talking to people and we realize that they're deer in the headlights about what we're talking about sometimes. But is that really the core of it for you? Is if the story doesn't have that human connection, it's going to be tough for you to kind of engage with how you want to produce something to that essence?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I just kind of spat out before was kind of more of a higher level, again, kind of the TED Talk version of what I'm talking about. But the guts of it is really just people are trying to find that, despite of there's a lot in it becoming more in the series about artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, like I said, the stuff about free will. It's all these things that are very more non-humanistic. They feel like they're not really about what we think about when we think about being a human being.
Sure.
So it's like setting up that way, but then trying to find people who are trying to pierce that through, like you're just talking about, through a deep human connection. And I really try to focus on that in all relationships, probably the most in the relationship between Paul and Kayla, where they are very much outcasts in their world, and they can only seem to connect with each other and not anyone else. But that's such a real thing for them that they hold on to that, despite all these other huge obstacles in their relationship. That's the one thing that they really need to get on with, even though they're dealing with a lot of other things that are much more like what I was talking about before. So, but yeah, to answer your question, that's obviously I'm trying to get to that. And it's kind of setting up these obstacles to get to that I think that makes that journey more interesting than just having a kind of a Hallmark love story.
Yeah. And, obviously like you mentioned, nerds like us are going to eat up the subtext and the abstractness of what you're trying to, how you're trying to unveil all of that, and the underlying things that are keeping the connections from getting closer to one another. But it's interesting to me too, in the human connection, the way that you present the subtext and the ideas around this, not only just with the the biological stuff and the genealogy and all the
Mhm.
all the science stuff that you're doing, but with the filmmaking stuff too, because you have a filmmaker in there trying to make film and trying to connect, and he's got something going on in his life that is preventing him from connecting with humans, and he's the camera becomes his best friend at that
Right.
point,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so it is interesting to that aspect. Do you draw? It seems like there's a lot of parallels for you in how you look at yourself in that respect. Is that fair to say in a lot of ways?
Yeah, my wife was much more open to my making films than
Yeah,
Alex is
right.
like this.
Sure, I would hope so.
Yeah, yeah, that would be wouldn't be much film out there for me if that wasn't if it was like Alex's wife. But yeah, I mean that's kind of again, it gets back to this core idea of like trying to um, express yourself, feel like a human being in this kind of very increasingly alienating modern world we live in with nonstop selfies and constant trying to project yourself out there, doing a live interview with somebody for your indie channel, just a random example, promoting yourself on
Yeah,
on the internet, things
yeah,
like that people do.
and that's being 3,000 miles away from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing that.
Have this deep conversation. Exactly right.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
but that's obviously that's what that's getting at is that's kind of what people are coming into. I think that could be fine.
Mhm.
You can still find a human connection in that, but for someone like him, you can see the scenes with his wife. She thinks it's just avoiding in a way real human contact, and it's like for him, it's
Right.
like the only way he's kind of devolved in this person, or maybe evolved. I don't know. That can only feel alive when they're trying um, to make a version of their life other than it
Mhm.
is for somebody else to see, if that makes sense.
And it's I won't spoil too much, but it's funny how she decides to connect with him through what she's doing in terms of the novel and everything
Right,
like that,
right,
and then how that kind of sparks the reignites a connection too, which is kind of funny that it's kind of like art versus art,
right. Exactly. It's an art off. That's very true.
but y- the interesting thing about what we've talked about this before with the actors that you've employed and brought on, but you're building quite the community there. And talk a little bit about what Minnesota has done for you, and what the community there has brought to this aspect for you, because it's
Yeah.
it's it's becoming very apparent that there's a nice niche community going on out there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I've been doing this almost 20 years, so you kind of figure out the more you do, the more you figure out who you really want to work with.
Hmm.
I've kind of come down to this series, kind of the group that I've worked with. It's kind of like all the people I've worked with before that I want to work with again, or people I know that people I've worked with have recommended. So you get this really core group of great people. And the great thing about making films here is like nobody really makes films here, right?
Yeah,
But there's a huge theater community. So you've got all these amazing actors who make a living at the Guthrie Theater or these other big, great theaters we have here, but they don't have an outlet to do act, to act in TV, especially, but even film. So I get this great talented uh, group of people here that just want to be in films and they don't need a lot of money to do it. And then I was able to, through doing all this work in film, find out, a great composer in Charlie McKieran, a great sound designer and Tom Hamilton, and then a great DP and Brendan Vance. Those are people that I would put it with any other people that you could find those roles anywhere. And I just happen to be able to find them here. So, yeah, it's just an incredibly talented group of people that don't have enough to work on, frankly, in film and TV. So I'm the benefactor of that.
And you decided to accelerate the process, put 5 more into the can, and put an 8 series together. So I'm curious how much that's accelerated your own creativity. Have you felt like that has kind of sparked something for you? Are you I mean, I'm selfishly hoping you come back to feature film at some point, now that feature film is starting to make a little bit more inroads and coming back into vogue a little bit. But I mean, if you stay with this series and this is all you do and you continue on, I'm all for that as well. But I'm just saying,
Yep.
my personal stake is hopefully you come back to film at some point. But I mean, do you have you had a spark in creativity after kind of accelerating yourself into this process?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been. I don't feel like I write a script and then we just shoot that script and then I just edit that script. It's like every step is rewriting it. So I wrote this, like I said, 350 pages, and then the way that we shoot here is, we all have day jobs, so we want to, be able to feed ourselves. So that's why we do that. But then, there's always usually been about a week or so gap between shoots, maybe 2 weeks, and I'm kind of rewriting in between there based on what I've shot before, what I see the story going. So there's a lot of rewriting between shoots. And then obviously when you're editing, you're just kind of recreating it again. So for me, it was, a tremendously different end product from the 5 episodes after I rewrote them and we shot them and I re-edited them the way I had originally written. So
Sure.
with Juan and Christine moving away, and that kind of was the kick in the ass I needed to just really dive into it.
Yeah. Are you do you have something else working on? Are you working on season 2? Where are you at in terms of your own creative process right now, though?
It's starting to get more into season 2 outlining, which has been really it's been pretty fun because, it's when you're starting out, you don't really have the great visualization of the characters and everyone else. It's kind of in your head. You don't know who's going to be playing which actor is going to play which role. But then now that I've got 6 hours of this stuff, it's kind of fun to be able to have seen it so many times and get a better feeling for how it's going to go and be able to visualize it based on what you've already done. Mm-hmm. So that's been kind of fun to take all that stuff I've done before that's already been produced and try to build into an even bigger story. So I've been doing a lot of outlining, trying to find time to do more writing, trying to also just work on selling this thing.
So, the many hats we all wear, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the year like for you, shopping it around and going to film festival after film festival? Was that, did you get exhausted at some point? Did you just, or was it invigorating to kind of, be around different audiences and seeing their different points of view?
Well, it's 2 different experiences. The ones I got to go to were invigorating for sure. This was like right in the heart of COVID when this thing hit the film festival circuit. So it's like the worst year to be in the festivals in some ways, because I didn't really, I went to LA, we won that one. That was amazing. But a lot of it was just doing stuff like this, online Q&As, and people would see it. And so most of it was done, from my study here. It was not done out in Cannes or Provo or in Utah, whatever that's Park City. Sorry.
Park City.
Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Are you still submitting to film festivals now? You have 8 of them?
I don't know. No, I mean, that was kind of that for that part.
Yeah.
So where it's at is a lot of my other time that I've been writing has just been putting together a pitch deck and, graphic designer doing all that. And
I mean, you have a Bible. You have a Bible without having to write one right now, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we did a whole Bible. I don't know if that was worth it or not, but then several different pitch decks. Just that's been a huge, haul, just getting all that together. But it's about a 10-page deck they're out there trying to sell it to folks with. So they're talking to streamers and production companies that work with streamers, and I talk to them every few days and see how it's going. And so far the response has been pretty good, but it's tough, without any movie stars in it, and no one knows who the hell I am. So we'll see. But I mean, the response has been very positive for what it's worth.
Are you aiming to get Twin Cities out there to kind of get your name on this thing out there? Or is that pretty much you're done with that? You're moved on from that?
The film Twin Cities?
Yeah.
Well, we got distribution for that. It wasn't, it was how do I say this? It was not incredibly lucrative.
Yeah.
But I see it out there. It'll be on. They sell it to kind of. I don't know if sells everything. They sell it to different companies that like.
So you're still hooked into the distribution deal that you.
I think so, but it'll be like it'll show up on YouTube in Polish, and it'll have like 200,000 or 300,000 views. And it's not even dubbed. They'll say a line and someone will say it in Polish right after that. It's not even. So
that's a little disconcerting.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I remember that the comments are in Polish too. I'm like, what the hell do these people think of this? Like, I remember the first one I took and I put in a Polish to English translator, and it said, "What the hell is this crap?" So that was my big review in Poland.
It's fascinating to me because you look at like a movie like Twin Cities, and then you look at the series that you just created, and you do use the same actors in both, but Twin Cities had a much smaller, scaled down cast. Then you brought in, and now you're featuring a lot more actors. Is that kind of fun for you to bring in new people as much as working with the same people?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, Bethany and Clarence, who have been in pretty much everything I've done, were the leads in Twin Cities, and also the feature I did before that. And that was part of it too. I wanted to not only work with more people, but have them not work opposite each other. So they have different, romantic partners. That was a lot of fun. And then just, getting to work with, like I said, some of these great theater actors who were really dying to get into film was a blast. So yeah, I'm really happy with the performances, and that was one of the fun parts, was working with all this new actors.
Are you expanding the cast for season 2? Can you say, or?
Well, we would if we can get it made. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's more. You looking for a role, Joe, or you want to send me a reel?
No, I'm good.
I'm open.
I mean, if you needed a PA hand or something like that, I would be open to that. But
okay.
No, nothing in front of the camera for me.
All right,
I'm done with that. I'm done with that aspect of my life. I don't need that anymore.
Noted. All right.
But what you've done is amazing. I mean,
thanks.
Most people only make one and never. I mean, I've seen probably 40 pilots in the last 5 years going to Park City, and not a single one, only one of them I can remember has ever turned into an actual series.
Okay.
And one of them was made, the person that made it, she had to do it on her own. She made 2 seasons on her own. And,
wow.
But luckily she got on YouTube TV. So that was helpful for that aspect of it. But, it's, and we're talking a sitcom, so it was like 20 minutes,
okay.
20-minute shoots, but 20-minute episodes. But that, I mean, so to accomplish what you've accomplished, I mean, that's amazing, Dave. I mean, it's really, I mean, no matter what the series does or how people feel about it, that's something really, really special and amazing. I mean, you've created 5 hours of something.
6 hours.
Yeah, 6. Okay, yes. Yeah, I mean, so congratulations on that aspect of it, for sure.
Thanks, man.
I mean, and as soon as it gets out there, you gotta let me know so that I can let everybody know about it, because I think it's spectacular personally. But
you watched the whole thing?
I have watched every episode. Yes, sir.
Oh wow, that's all. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so before I let you go, you ready to do my little questionnaire?
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to do La Questionnaire, invented by the great Bernard Pivot, perfected at one point by the awesome James Lipton inside the actor studio. Yeah, and then I've adopted it for this purpose of this show. So, David, what is your favorite word to write?
Favorite word to write? That's an interesting question. I love the word exegesis. I think we use that in both my last 2. It's just fun to say too, right?
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, exegesis.
All right, so what's your least favorite word to write?
To write. These are totally out there questions. Fart. I don't know.
A good word for you?
No, I'd rather hear it spoken. I like the sound of it. I don't want to I don't want to see it.
It's show not tell, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so what turns you on either creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
You know, yeah, she's so. I think I like being in like this is a really good conversation. People are really connected to each other and really in the moment. That's like getting back to what this stuff is about. It's about trying to find that in life when everything's pulling you to be distracted and away from it. Those were really rare moments. So I like that. Turns me on as much as anything.
Nice. So what turns you off?
Just dicks. People who are dicks. People who are mean.
Which I'm sure you've never come across anybody.
No, we don't have them here in Minnesota, but when you're in LA, they're pretty hard to miss.
All right, and everybody's favorite. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck. It's got to be fuck. I know it's been said.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got such a satisfying.
It does, right? It's universal.
You shouldn't say it often, but when you have to say it, I don't know.
Okay, so what sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise. When you open a bottle of wine, it makes like that's a good sound.
Nice.
Because then you're gonna do something fun next. Yeah.
So what sound or noise do you dislike?
I got to go back to farts. I don't like them.
All right. Fair enough. So you don't like showing or telling when?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going back on what I said before. Yeah, I guess I'm just down on farts today. I don't know what it is.
No worries. So what character of yours would you say would be more apt to put their face on currency in their world?
Definitely Alex in this thing.
Yeah,
that's a given, I think, right?
Yeah.
I should write that in the second season.
What artistry would you love to try to do that you haven't attempted before?
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up, I wanted to be like a singer-songwriter, and I remember I got this back how I got these cassette tapes from the library. I said "Born to Sing" on it, and I'm like, okay, I'll try this. And like my first day at home, my dad walked by and said, "Dave, you are not born to sing." And that was the end of that dream. So I'd like to bring that up again sometime when maybe after my dad's deceased, you want to hear me, but I'd like to be like Springsteen, like everybody else.
Nice. What artistry would you never try?
Artistry? I think mimes are annoying as fuck. I really do. I don't get it.
Nice.
I don't want to do
that. All right. So this is an interesting question for you because, of the existential nature of which you present your product. If heaven or whatever you believe or don't believe exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
Not bad. How about that? It's all right. You did okay. I don't need a big thing.
Well, I have to say, Mr. Dave Ash, you did okay. You not bad here. This was a great conversation. And not bad with your entire catalog. As you know, I'm a big fan of Twin Cities. We talked about that incessantly the first time we ever met and beyond that. And this series has been very awesome. I was so thrilled to hear that you made 5 more and then to just absorb it. It's an amazing accomplishment. And thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody where they can find out more about this and follow the journey of Incompleteness, especially so that if it does go out there, people know where to go. Yeah, thanks for that. And thanks for this. This has been fun. IncompletenessTheSeries.com is the website that kind of takes you everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're hoping it's going to be on a streaming service by next year. We'll see. But yeah, I'd love for people to have the chance to see it in their living room. It'd be amazing. That is amazing. And thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We're so glad that you did. And we will see you again soon. Remember that it's always time to go indie now.